Welcome. In the first reading, the prophet Micah entreats, "Shepherd your people with your staff." One of my sons loved the parable of the lost sheep. He loved how the shepherd searched high and low and didn't give up until he found the lost sheep, how he carried the lamb back to the others with love. My son loves seeing how the staff helped the shepherd reach the sheep and even to save it from falling off a cliff. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus explicitly refers to himself as the Good Shepherd, and he uses shepherding imagery to illustrate how he cares for us. He also speaks of what happens when people don't have a shepherd. St. Matthew tells us that when Jesus was traveling to towns and villages, proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and curing every disease and illness, his heart was moved with pity at the sight of the crowds because they were troubled and abandoned like sheep without a shepherd. Do we yearn to be shepherded as Micah did? Do we want to be guided? Consider this. The bishop's crozier is modeled on a shepherd's staff, and our bishops are to govern, teach, and sanctify us, to help us live according to God's will. As we celebrate Natural Family Planning Awareness Week, we can reflect on our opening to being shepherded when the teaching is countercultural and challenging. In today's gospel, Jesus points to the importance of obedience to God's will, placing it even above the relationship between mother and child. What then is God's will? Many answers come to mind: prayer, going to Mass, doing the corporal and spiritual acts of mercy, following the precepts of the Church, and living a moral life according to the teachings of the Church. All of these are important, but one essential element that is often overlooked is how we live the normal daily responsibilities of our state in life. In Introduction to the Devout Life, the first major work of lay spirituality, St. Francis de Sales wrote, "When I read in the life of St. Catherine of Siena, of her ecstasies and visions, her wise sayings and teaching, I do not doubt but that she ravished her bridegroom's heart. But I must own that I behold her with no less delight in her father's kitchen, kindling the fire, turning the spit, baking the bread, cooking the dinner, and doing all the most menial offices in a loving spirit which look through all things straight to God." St. Francis de Sales saw God's will in the realities of daily life. The decree on the apostolate of the laity from the Second Vatican Council reinforces this idea, teaching that prayer and sacraments are to be used in such a way that while correctly fulfilling their secular duties in the ordinary conditions of life, the laity do not separate union from Christ from their life, but rather perform their work according to God's will, that they grow in that union. As our shepherd, Jesus calls us to obedience to him in every aspect of our lives, even those that seem very ordinary, even mundane. These are the means through which God shapes us into saints, if we let him. I urge you to take some time today to reflect on, where in my life do I fight against God's providence? What duties of my state in life do I fulfill in a cursory manner or leave unfulfilled? Do I treat those with whom I live with the same courtesy and charity I do those outside my home? How do I seek to serve those with whom I live and work? And do I know and accept God's gift of human sexuality, marriage, and procreation as taught by the Church? Remember, the ethical methods of natural family planning are a support to married love and the gift of life, since they are designed by God, guided by love, and open to life. May God bless your day.